Well, a happy Friday to each and every one of you, and thank you for joining me today. It is the 1st of November, 2024. My name is Lenny Hernandez, and we have a fantastic and fascinating show in store for you today. That's right, our episode today is all about Thoughtful Connections, a memory care podcast. Thoughtful Connections is produced by Arrow Senior Living and hosted by Charlie Johnson, Creative Project Coordinator here at Arrow, and Elizabeth Thompson, Certified Dementia Practitioner, Certified Montessori Dementia Care Professional, and Senior Regional Director of Memory Care here at Arrow. Well, at the time of this recording, the podcast has released 33 episodes and is now returning for season 2. So, of course, I'm sitting down with Charlie and Elizabeth to talk all about the show and what we can expect in this new batch of episodes. So right now, for all of you, it's time to grab a drink, grab a snack, get comfortable, because you are going to enjoy this episode and this show. So welcome to Arrow Nicely News. Let's go!
Thoughtful Connections, a memory care podcast, aims to provide general information and insights about dementia and related topics. The content shared is not intended to be medical advice or a substitute for professional medical or clinical guidance. The purpose or goal of this podcast series is to help inform and educate family members considering memory care for a loved one. With us, as always, is Elizabeth Thompson, Arrow Senior Living Regional Director of Memory Care. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you here with us today, and very excited about starting this new podcast series.
Well, hello, Elizabeth and Charlie. Good to see you all again.
Good to see you.
Hey, Lenny.
Not a lot of people know that not only do I host Arrow Nicely News weekly, but I also produce our in-house memory care Thoughtful Connections podcast. With the two of you.
Yes.
Okay, so Elizabeth, tell us all about it. If we don't know anything about it, tell us about it right now.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it is a podcast all about dementia and memory care. It is a great tool for support for caregivers, for families. We talk about all sorts of things. We try to keep it non-clinical, so it's easy to understand. It's really just conversation between Charlie and I about experiences that we've both had, and talking about things that a lot of times people don't want to talk about. Sometimes we talk about topics that are maybe taboo to some people, but they're really prevalent to the world of dementia. We wanted it to be where you can just hop on at any time and start listening. So they're not really in any particular order to listen to. They're all individual topics. And I'm just thankful to my co-host, Charlie, who just keeps the conversation rolling.
Well, let's get one thing perfectly clear for those that are watching this. I am just a talking head that asks the questions. I am not an expert on dementia or memory care. So let's get that straight right off the bat.
Well, okay, so don't sell yourself short here, Charlie. Even though you aren't necessarily have the background and the training that Elizabeth has, you have direct expertise with having to navigate this with your own family and you being the care person for this family member.
Well, you make a great point, Lenny. I have had a lot of personal experience with dementia. My mother had dementia, and I cared for her at home for way too long. And then she was able to go into a memory care community for her last 5 or 6 years of her life.
Well, you mean, to be clear, you mean way too long because her care kind of outreached what you were able to do, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was still, just as a short story, I was still farming at the time. and she was living at home, and I was taking care of her, making all her meals, dispensing all of her meds, making sure she was bathed, taking care of her personal hygiene. And in Lenny, it came to the point that I was in the house taking care of my mother more than I was in the fields. Then there happened to be there was an event that happened that it just was too much, and so we had to look for help. And I thought I was being the dutiful son, taking care of her and doing the right thing, and of course I was not doing anyone any favors by keeping her at home that long. And so yes, I've had a lot of personal experience, and not just my mother, but my mother-in-law as well. My current wife, her mother had dementia as well, and so I had to go through it twice. And so I do have a lot of personal experience, and I certainly can share a lot of stories and a lot of experience with our listeners.
Well, what's a favorite episode that you all have done that you felt was very, just important for people to know? Elizabeth, go ahead and start here.
I think one of my favorite ones was therapeutic fibbing. Just because I think it is so important for families to know that it's not lying, but we're living in their reality. And I think that's very powerful when communicating with someone who has dementia.
Well, therapeutic fibbing, the goal is to eliminate any distress or anxiety that can come for the person who's living with dementia, while still maintaining that dignity and that person-centered care. A lot of families will say, I can't lie to my mom. I just can't lie to my mom. And I get that. However, with dementia, we have to go where they are. Their brains are incapable of changing. So wherever they are in their dementia journey is real to them. If we try to argue, we're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to escalate the situation. Every person living with dementia has issues with time. Their brain is not allowing them to have those circadian rhythms. Sometimes they don't know if it's morning or if it's night. Sometimes they don't know if it's 2023 or 1993. But wherever they are in their mind is real to them. Just like if my mom comes to me and says, somebody stole my purse, somebody stole my purse. Well, I could say, no, they didn't, Mom. You always hide it under your bed. Just go look, it's there. That's just going to irritate her. Or I could say, that's terrible. Let me look into that for you. I'm going to get you a cup of coffee, Mom, and I'm going to go see what I can find out about your purse. It's the black purse, right? Yes, it is. I go to her room, get the black purse from under her bed, bring it to her. Who's the hero? I'm on her side.
Interesting fact about the therapeutic fibbing thing is that, like, whenever I first joined Arrow 10, 12 years ago, it's been forever, I lived on site in memory care, and I worked as the ops coordinator, the front desk person. And so whenever I would wake up and go to work, I would walk through memory care every single day. When I went home, I walked back through memory care to get into my apartment that I was staying in. And there was a resident there who, her and I would have almost the same conversation every morning. I would sit there because I'd always be early. So I'd sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes and sit with this resident. And we would share almost the same story each morning before I went into work. And just naturally, it didn't seem right to say, no, that's not what's happening. That's not what it is. It just felt more natural to kind of just go with them wherever she was at, and so that's really interesting. That's very interesting to hear later on. I was like, no, that's what you're supposed to do. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I had no idea what I was doing,
Good.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Charlie, what about you? What is one of your favorite episodes? If somebody's jumping in, you should listen to this one.
Well, I'll just make a broad statement and say, one thing that we always try to do is to not just focus on the individual with dementia, but also put a focus on the caregiver, because oftentimes they are overlooked,
Mm-hmm.
and this is so stressful on the caregiver. So with that being said, I think one of my favorite is when we had Sandy McGatha, who is a licensed clinical social worker for Arrow Senior Living. We had her on as a guest, and she came on and gave tips for the caregivers. And I think that's one of my favorites, is because, again, we always try to not just focus on the individual, but also the caregiver as well.
So tell us, what are some needs of a caregiver that are often forgotten?
I think it's really important, if you are a caregiver of a loved one in your home environment, to recognize that your experience is probably going to be different than anybody else's experience. I mean, it's very unique to the relationship that you have. You probably know this person better than anybody else does. You've witnessed a lot of intimate moments. And so to compare yourself to how somebody else is doing it or has done it is really not fair to you. So first and foremost, I think you recognize that it's a personal journey, and you have to realize that you have to kind of do what works for you and your family. In some of the environments where we are, maybe it is just one person, you feel sort of isolated. It's important to, I think, reach out to other people. Also realizing that the person who's doing the care can get so tired that they forget or don't even feel like they can ask. And so I always say, think about yourself, because I think you can't pour from an empty cup. We talk about that a lot. And take care of your needs as well as you take care of the other person's. I think, too, it's important to do little things for yourself. We talk about that in mental health, and it's about taking moments to just spoil yourself. And when you're caring for somebody, it's probably a 24/7 job, especially if it's in your home. So there's a hypervigilance that happens. You're always aware and on point. You're worried about something. So when you have those moments where you can take a moment and rest, it's really important to take those moments, even if that's a simple sit down and I'm going to put some peanut butter on my crackers and I'm going to sit here for a minute and just enjoy what I'm doing, being in that moment, because you have to take those little places. You have to have those little moments to kind of replenish yourself.
We had so many great episodes throughout the first season. I'm super excited for this next season because we have upped our technology game a little bit. We are going to be not only releasing the podcast in audio form, we're going to be releasing the podcast itself in video form. And so we're going to be able to push all this stuff out in all of the ways in which people consume content. And I believe wholeheartedly that this podcast, the Thoughtful Connections podcast with the two of you, is such an important podcast for, again, the families who are experiencing this with their loved ones. You know, people are saying, whenever you go in the comments, people are saying, thank you so much. I'm a care partner for my grandmother. I'm taking care of my grandmother, my loved one, and this is helping. That we're churning out such great quality things. Go listen to it. Anything else that Elizabeth, that people who are watching, like, we should make sure that they know? First off, we should make sure that they know that we have new episodes dropping every Monday throughout the next 2 months.
Yes.
To finish out the year.
Yes. And I would just say it's just check it out, because it's not, like Charlie said, we want to, definitely appeal to those that are caregiving for people living with dementia, but also we've got some great topics that are about prevention, and so even if you don't have dementia, but maybe you know a little bit about it and you want to try and be as healthy as possible, we've got episodes that focus on that as well. So it's really for anybody.
And one thing I'd like to add, and I don't think we've mentioned previously, is that we actually, in our first season, what I call our fledgling season, where we were trying to learn what the heck we were doing, we actually received a first place award from the 2024 Aspect Awards. We were first place winners, which I think we should be very proud of. Coming in, with a new podcast like this. So that's something, I think, a great achievement. And as we've gone along, we did 33 episodes in our first season, and certainly
I think Elizabeth will agree, and I think you will too, Lenny. From when we first started until we ended with that 33rd one, I think there were some great improvements. We developed a friendship, and we developed a rapport, and I think that shows, I believe, in the episodes as well.
I agree.
Well, thank you all so much for joining me here on Arrow Nicely News. It's always great to see your guys' faces, whether it be in person while we're filming our podcast or here doing an interview for Arrow Nicely News. Again, I feel like we do such cool things here at Arrow, and I'm so glad that we're able to give this project, Thoughtful Connections, award-winning podcast, a space to kind of shine light on the amazing work that you all are doing. Seriously. So thank you all so much. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you, Lenny.
A huge thank you to Elizabeth and to Charlie for sitting down with me to talk all about Thoughtful Connections. You can find the podcast by using this QR code right here on the screen, or by following the link in the description below. Or, just look it up on iTunes or Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. There is a ton of great information about dementia, the dementia journey, support for families, and much, much more in those podcast episodes, so please check it out. Or, you can share it with your loved ones on their dementia journey. It's a wonderful podcast, and it's great for anyone looking for knowledge, comfort, and of course, it's a pleasant listen. So check it out. Well, everyone, that'll do it for this episode of Arrow Nicely News. I know, I will miss you all too. But never fear, in 7 short days, count them, 7, we will be back with more fun and delightful stories from around Arrow communities. So come on back in a week, because we will have a great time together. I guarantee it. Until then, for Arrow Nicely News, I'm Lenny Hernandez. Have a wonderful weekend, an even better week, and we'll see you all next Friday. Bye. Oh, wait. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our show here. And then share it out if you like. Actually, share it out because I'm telling you to. Share it out to people. All right, we'll see you all later.